It is about that simplicity and taking the questions and just using them simply to turn things around. And the wisdom with which you've done that is wonderful. And this is the second time I've listened to this talk. I listened to it at the SF24 conference, and I've come back a second time, and I'm sure I'll do it a third.
Fabulous. Welcome everyone. Really excited to introduce Douglas Yuan, who's going to be presenting for us tonight. I've had a sneak peek of what he's going to be presenting on, so I'm very curious around this topic of leading projects more effectively in a VUCA environment. And I will just get straight into introducing Douglas. We've got a bit of an agenda of how we're going to run the session this evening, this morning, middle of the day, wherever you're located. But to give you an intro in terms of Douglas and his background, he actually describes himself as a solution-focused project manager. And he's had 30 years of project management experience and consulting, leading worldwide strategic operations planning, mergers and acquisition integration, plant constructions, and he's worked in healthcare, oil and gas, tertiary education, semiconductor, manufacturing, and not-for-profit charity work. He has lived and worked in Singapore, China, South Korea, and the USA. And he's an executive coach and principal consultant with Charis Pace Consultancy. And he came across Solution Focus 2 years ago, and from his wife, actually, Lily Coe, and trained with the Brief Academy, and has now been so influenced, he says he's actually totally changed his mindset in how he works. So he's very passionate at applying solution-focused project management. So I'm sure you will find it fascinating what Douglas is going to present. So he's going to do a little presentation for about 30, 40 minutes, and then we'll get your input. So have a conversation in breakout rooms around what you're fascinated about. And then Douglas is going to do a little bit more on how do you communicate with solution focus and give some examples of that in his project management. And then I want to do a promo at the end, which is letting people know who want to join solution focus in organisations down under. So, and Australia and New Zealand who want to share practice in solution focus. So I'll be doing a bit of a pitch at the end of the conversation. So I'm going to straight on hand it over to Douglas. Welcome, Douglas.
Hi, everyone. Greeting from Singapore. I know there's one of my friends from Singapore. I don't know about the rest from Australia or from other parts. So it's good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you. I heard that most of you are coaches, but I believe most of you have some experience, you know, whether it's a small or big projects. You are also considered project managers in the future, in whatever you're going to do. And I hope this sharing will help you to talk to your friends who are project managers and to tell them that, well, solution focus definitely applies to you. Let me explain to you later. And I spoke briefly with Annette. I say, solution focus definitely has a big opportunity in project management, okay? I'm very honored to have this opportunity to share with all of you. I know all of you probably have much more solution focused experience than I do. I'm only a little baby, a toddler in the solution focus. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity. Thank you to Annette Gray and all the rest of the organizers. I know all of you are putting a lot of effort in this SFIO. I presented this thing during the SF24 in August, 24 Hours Global. I guess maybe some of you have attended them. I hope to make these sessions fun. Who want to have a fun time in this 1 hour session or less? Okay, as Annette has introduced myself to you just now, I will briefly share with you. I was in semiconductor for more than 20 years, and the rest of them 10 years in different industry. My project management experience actually overlap with many other experiences, and I'm very fortunate to have a chance to move in different countries in Asia and the United States. So what I did was that I start factories, I build factories, I expand the factories, I relocate the factory from different countries. As you know, most of them ended up in China. And I hope in future you get out from China and go to the rest of the world so that everybody have the same prosperity. And because of that, I have this passion in project management. At the same time, for the last couple of years, 5 or 6 years, my wife got into solution focus. And I realized that it make a big impact to my family. And all my children want to talk to her, they don't want to talk to me because solution focus is so attractive. So at the end of it, I joined the solution focus, and here I am today. Okay, let me go straight to the what I'm going to talk to you about, share with you today. VUCA and its antidote. They will be my first introduction. And followed by why solution-focused coaching approach for project management. And this is a very important thing for especially the consultants that you want to, persuade your colleague or your peers, your client, that solution focus is relevant to their work. And finally, I will give you some examples how you can use them in project management. And I'll give you some experiences, share with you my experiences and how solution focus will have been a better way of communication than what we used to do. I believe most of you heard of VUCA, right? So I'm not going to go too much details on VUCA, but I will quickly run through some of the definitions I would like you to understand so that I can relate this to the positive VUCA or the antidote of VUCA. So VUCA is actually been coined, I believe many of you know, by the US War Army in the 1990s. It's supposed to develop, the strategic leaders for the army after the Cold War. After the Cold War, the war is very different. There are so many enemies, no longer just Russia, right? And so they coined this word VUCA, and VUCA, as you can see from this slide, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Volatility basically relates to the rate of change. As all of us know that it's okay to cope with change. We have change, slow change is okay. But when the change becomes very fast, we have a problem because we have a problem trying to understand. Before we can unlearn it, we have to relearn the things, and if the change is very fast, we have a problem to cope with them. Before we can grasp a new one, you have a newer one coming along. And we also have a challenge to plan. Before our plan can materialize, you have a new changes coming up. So planning become quite irrelevant, and things become very unpredictable. So when the future becomes very unpredictable, we have uncertainty. So the higher the volatility, the greater is the uncertainty. So this V and U are related somehow. As for C, the complexity, this is because of the factors. When there are a lot of factors you have to consider, they're interconnected, so you have complexity. So the more factors are involved in any issues that you have to consider, it becomes more complex. And complexity actually brings us to a new realm. It's called unknown unknowns. What is that? When the risk that you're facing is unknown, and the impact of the risk is also unknown, it's called unknown unknown, right? And this can lead to a next level called chaos, and where you don't even know what is the cause and what's the effect, you know. And both of them are unknown. So, and this will ended up, the whole situation become unclear and ambiguous. And when things are ambiguous, you realize that you know, everything that someone says, he has many different type of interpretations. So we have this VUCA. That's what I try to briefly introduce. What are they, right? Hopefully, I didn't confuse you. Well, today all of us are in the same situations. You know, we are facing the COVID-19 pandemic. Every one of us are now Zooming because of the COVID-19. And depends on where you are. We also face natural disaster, wars and threats of war, trade wars. All of us facing small and big, all kinds of trade war right now. I believe Australia knows it very well. Singapore lost most of the business because of the trade war. Oil price fluctuation, terrorism, internal and external, environmental issues, and the list goes on. And when all these problems happen one after another, and some of them even happen within a short time, and some are concurrently, we are facing a serious VUCA. So VUCA is no longer just an event, but is, you know, we are facing it right now. So, you know, someone told me that VUCA in African, one of the African dialect, it means wake up. Wake up. VUCA means wake up. Sounds quite close. VUCA, wake up. So let's look at the camera and tell everybody, VUCA, don't quit. Can we repeat? VUCA, don't quit.
VUCA, don't quit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Next, I will just go to the next topic, which is antidote. And this is very, very interesting. I was writing on this topic. That's how I come about, you know, presenting this. I find it has been very beneficial to me. I would like to share with the rest of the people. The good news is that there is an antidote to this VUCA. And what I've shared with you just now on the VUCA, they are called negative VUCA. And the antidote is called the positive VUCA. And some call it the VUCA prime. Let me explain a bit more. In 2007, this founder of Institute of the Future, his name is called Robert Johansen. He discovered the leadership model to counter the negative VUCA. As illustrated in this program, in this diagram, you can see that the volatility is countered by vision, uncertainty by understanding, complexity by clarity, and ambiguity by agility. In the subsequent slide, I'm going to explain in greater details. Okay, so how can vision counter volatility? As you can imagine, when the pace of change are increasing, the leaders need to have a vision or the preferred future, which you know, solution focus use, and they have to be the anchor for the leaders. Regardless of what is happening around us, we leaders have to know where we are moving towards. We need to know our vision, we need to know our destination. Otherwise, we won't reach there. And that's not all. If only the leaders know where to go, then we're in trouble. Our team member must understand where's the preferred future or the vision as well, so that they will run to the same destination. Same as a leader, regardless what's happening, even regardless. When there's no leader at all, the team still know where to go. And this is very important when we are living in the VUCA world. Another point is important that, you know, our team need to be empowered to reach the destination. They need to be given the flexibility to reach the vision or the preferred future, regardless of which path they are taking. As you can see from this diagram, they are taking this path. They can go for another path because you may encounter different constraints, when things are changing in the VUCA environment. Next, understanding. Understanding comes from listening deeply. We need to listen deeply to the stakeholders to really understand what they really care about and what is important to them. Unless we truly understand what they really care about, we cannot respond accurately for the stakeholders. The stakeholders could be our company, the stakeholders could be our projects. It could be our customers. And then once you understand them, well enough, then you can generate all the relevant possibility to prepare the team in advance during uncertainties. Right? That's for understanding to counter uncertainty. And next is clarity. After you have a preferred future or the vision, clarity is best derived by looking back from the future. Let me give you an example by what I meant by looking back from the future. When we ask a question, suppose you are confident to climb Mount Everest and return safely. What would you notice about your preparations? In these questions that we use, we realize that we cut through all the fears and all the comprehensive checklists from all the manuals of climbing all kinds of mountains. Instead, we focus on building confidence. We focus on climbing Mount Everest, not any other mountains. We focus on safe return and the preparations. So clarity helps us to save time, simplify. Clarity involves making a complex issue simple. And clarity is able to help us to see the situations accurately and completely, the full pictures. When there is clarity, it will inform decision. It will help us to make decisions. When there's clarity, inspire actions. So clarity is really important in this VUCA world to help us to counter complexity. And finally, this octopus looks like our teenagers. We can they can do multiple tasks. And most of our teenagers are multitasking. How can agility counters ambiguity? Actually, when there's ambiguity, it means that there are many possibilities. So by being flexible and adaptable to many possible situations, we need to acquire future skills now. That's very important, first thing. And secondly, we need to expand our network. Why? Because we need the network for our flexibility to acquire future resources, to acquire lots of varieties of expertise. And that's not all. You can have all the resources, but in order for us to be flexible and adaptable, you also need to be truly prepared. How do we do that? We need to experiment. We need to practice whatever plan we have so that when the situation comes about, we are ready to move on. And we have to do that for high potential scenarios through the experts' recommendations so that we are able to address all the VUCA situations. Another important thing is that to be able to counter ambiguity, we need to have collaborations with others These are very important because in the VUCA environment, we have risk. So if we are able to collaborate with others, we are able to mitigate big risk. And we are also able to increase our access to different resources and expertise. So after explaining for the last few minutes on positive VUCA, if you cannot remember them, you just have to remember mountain with a pot of gold there. That's your vision. You just have to remember the magnifying glass. So you need to understand deeply. Just remember the telescope, right? You can, look future and look back. And octopus, the teenagers who can do everything and need to be flexible and adaptable. So that's all about the positive VUCA. Next, we would like to apply VUCA, positive VUCA model in our project leadership. I have a question for all of us. What do you think is the most important skill in project leadership? Can you answer in the chat?
We've just been talking about the screen size.
Okay. Anybody? Humility? Yeah. Communication? Listening? Yeah. Engagement? Listening? Share purpose? Yes. Planning? Yes, listen to what we want, they want, yeah. Yeah, all these are correct. Focus, yes, amazing, yeah. Okay, so let me give you the answer from the official answer. Many of you are correct. Actually, the most important skill of a leader in the project management is communication. Some of you got it right on dot. Project Management Institute, PMI, which is the most popular institution recognized worldwide, recommends that the project leaders spend 90% of their time in communication. Of course, they have to do all kinds of work, but they all relate to communication. The reason is 20% from the research, from the real data, 20% of the unsuccessful project actually due to ineffective communication. That's a very serious, there's a big portion of reason for failures. So therefore, as a leader in the VUCA environment, we should apply positive VUCA in our communication. Let me explain why. This is getting more interesting. This is a busy chart. Okay, let me help you to navigate through. If we apply positive VUCA principle to the project management communication, you can see the circle in red. And you realize that, these are the positive VUCA principles. And you can have 10 possible positive outcomes. For the first one, you can see vision. Those are from the positive VUCA. And it's B. The possibility will come when you have understanding, general possibility. And clarity is from the C. Clarity, inspire, simplify, you have intuition and system thinking. And you have the I, improve, adapt, innovation, and empowerment. These are related to the agility to counter the ambiguity. Solution-focused coaches. Do you notice something familiar here? These will be the same outcomes if you use solution-focused coaching approach. Don't you think so? What a coincidence. I thought it was my new discovery. When you go to ACUK website, you can see that positive VUCA is already there as part of the solution-focused coaching. So it's nothing new. So we should apply solution-focused coaching approach in the project leadership in the VUCA environment. That's it. So we have actually a very similar principles. Next, and beside those benefits you just mentioned, for project management, it's very important to apply solution-focused approach because it will benefit the people, not just the team member, but also all the stakeholders, including the customers. We were able to help them to sort out the confusion that comes from the volatility and complexity. We help them to prioritize when they have so many challenges, and resource will be getting less and less bigger, and more constrained. So we need to prioritize. In the times of VUCA, it's very difficult to maintain a good relationship. So by using solution focus, we are able to improve the bonding going through difficult time. And we also able to help to regain the confidence that was shaken during the VUCA, and even the confidence that they used to have. So we are able to maximize every team member. In the time of VUCA, we need every single brain to come together and work together to create solutions. We are able to draw out innovative competency. We need all the smart guys to come out, even when they don't think they have the idea, but by using solution focus, we are able to extract those innovation. We seek to understand, to empathize, to win-win solution. This can come easily from a solution-focused approach. And finally, solution focus on asking instead of telling. And most of the time in project management, we tell. I'm one of the culprit myself. So with those few slides and those points, I want to share with you that the current, I want to share with you based on my experience of education in project management. I'm a certified project management professional. I'm also a certified project manager from United States, Washington University. And I realized that, the entire project management education equipped project managers to do planned communication, but not so much to communicate effectively. So solution-focused coaching approach can definitely fill the big gap to develop effective project leaders. So there's a very big opportunity there. So I'm very excited about this. Finally, I would like to share with you how solution-focused approach, coaching approach can be used in the project management. As you can see from the next chart, this is actually a diagram come from project management. And these are the 5 phases that the project management guys had to go through. From initiate, plan, execute, control, and closing phase. Can you just imagine in a VUCA environment, after the project is being approved by the senior management, when you start planning, there'll be changes and changes non-stop, right? So the plan will be delayed. And once the plan is agreed by all the stakeholders, you move forward to execution. It changes again. As you can see, the execution and the control, they are all interrelated. Whenever there's there are changes in the execution, you need to go through a control approval. And this continue non-stop. What happened is that you are not able to close the project. Your schedule, your deadline will be missed. You may not even meet the budget, right? You may exhaust your budget before you even accomplish your project. And worst of all, your scope of your project may even have to change, and this will be a very serious problem. So going forward, I will pick a few areas that are very challenging in project management during the VUCA environment. The first is planning. What I state here is what I used to do and what most project management will say. You know, where in a VUCA environment, there's so much uncertainties and complexity. We will tell the team, hey guys, be careful, right? There's so many constraints here. We need to take care of every one of them. You have to consider the budget, the tight budget. You have to consider the deadlines. We can't miss a deadline to the customers. You have to consider the contractual obligation. Those are legal and binding. You have to consider the long-term reliability, especially their contractual as well. We have to meet the product specification. Oh, these are serious, you know, because if there's any product failure, the company may go bust because of the, you know, compensation. So we may even warn our team members what not to do and what to do. And in addition, you know, yeah, this ended up, the project leader sounds like a naggy person. Sounds familiar? If you're project leaders, you find that this is what we used to do. If we ask the questions, or if we approach this project using a solution-focused coaching approach, we will probably ask a question like, suppose we have to adjust our scope, schedule, and cost. What should we be doing differently to be successful? I never asked this question before in the past, but now with a solution-focused understanding, I will ask these questions. Actually, I don't have an answer for this, but as a project leaders, we should wait silently and see what the team will come up with. They will generate ideas. You'll be surprised. They will come out with different viewpoints from different subject matter experts. As leaders, we just have to clarify. We have to affirm, you know, when they give a suggestion and appreciate their contributions. And what happened is that when some ideas are being adopted and the actions would have to be assigned, you'll find that there'll be stronger sense of ownership. When the actions are being completed and successful, you realize that there'll be a lot of sense of actualization, self-actualizations. So this solution-focused approach would be much better than the normal, the non-solution-focused approach. The next challenging area will be stakeholder engagement. And in a small project, it's not an issue. When you have a big project to handle, you know, this is definitely the most challenging areas. Most of the time, we tell the stakeholders, please provide all your requirements to meet the project objective, and we will give them the forms, you know, or the spreadsheet, ask them to write it down. And sometimes we hold meeting with each one of them and to jot down all their requirements. And you know what's the problem with this? They will provide their requirements without letting us know the reasons, without letting us know as project leaders their priorities. They will not tell us what's the final outcome they want and how the interdependency with other functions. Let's try the solution-focused coaching approach. We can ask questions such as, suppose all the project objectives are met satisfactorily. I don't know how, somehow they are met. What would you notice are in place? These questions, we can help the stakeholders to cast their visions and their preferred future. And you ask the question, what else? You help them to generate more details. You'll be surprised. They will generate more details than what they have written down because of these questions. You may also ask them, why are all these important to them? Of all these requirements, which are the most important ones? And who might have a different perspective? These are all the questions that will help us to address their motivations, their pressing reason behind, and their priority, and also help them to eliminate any blind spot that they may have, especially from other internal or external customers. And this slide will definitely is very helpful as project managers, because as leaders that lead the team, when we use a solution-focused approach, we were able to help build a strong relationship, not only with the team members, but also with other stakeholders. When we listen to them attentively, we build trust, and the trust also built from by showing appreciation and compliment sincerely when stakeholders, give us different viewpoints, we build a positive energy, and at the end of it, it helps the projects to move with great enthusiasm. And solution-focused approach believe in the expertise of individual, believe in the stakeholders have the strength, have the resources to get to the solution, and finally believe that all of us will do our best to get the problem solved. By doing so, we are able to get more things done. So solution focus is highly recommended because of all these factors. Risk management is definitely will be top on the list in the VUCA environment. The usual way when we are facing a lot of uncertainties, when the risk is high, the leaders will be very tense and usually very directive. We'll just tell them, please identify all the risk mitigation, the contingency plan, and blah, blah, blah. Please make sure we leave no stone unturned. If we use a solution-focused approach, we don't have to be directive in a crisis. Oh, sorry, we don't have to be directive unless it's in a crisis. In a crisis, you don't coach anymore, right? But many times it's urgent, it's not crisis. So when sometimes it's urgent and sometimes we still have time, but we have a lot of risk uncertainties, you can ask questions like, based on the risk profile of our organization, what can we do to be successful? This is a very important question based on my experience. Let me explain to you why. I have an experience a couple of years ago. I had to build a factory, a new factory that's worth close to 300 million in South Korea. And I was assigned to this project. 300 million is a lot of money to put in one project. So I need to have a conversation with my C-level executive, especially my COO and also my CFO. I need to understand what's their risk tolerance for this project. And after I understand the risk profile, the risk tolerance, then I need to have a conversation with my team members asking this question. Because I don't have the answer for all, to how to resolve this. And just to share with you briefly, the company said, we have only one-way ticket. You have to make it happen. Otherwise, the whole company will collapse. And you need to meet the budget. You can't go beyond. No 5-10%. You have to go below 300 million and not the positive plus minus plus. So as a result, we spent a lot of time. My team spent a lot of time, additional time, to figure out how to be successful given the risk profile, to design before the construction. Another question we can use in project management is, what are some of our recent achievements when we capitalize on the opportunity from the risk identified? We can actually draw resources from our past win using solution focus, and that's not all. We can even draw resources from our past failure by asking the question, from the failure of our recent projects, what lesson can we learn such that we are more prepared to overcome the challenges and be successful again? I've never heard of this question during my past project management work. We just bang, 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 and these are very, very good questions. Procurement management. this area is very vulnerable when there is a VUCA. There's a question to ask. What will keep you awake to prevent any disruption to our supply chain, considering the current challenges? This is not a question coined by me. This is a question I was asked by the vice president of the largest customer of my previous employer. I had a hard time answering this question because I slept very well. So once again, solution focus, if you were to ask solution focused question, you can get a more holistic answer. If you were to ask, knowing what we know now, what would a VUCA robust procurement management looks like? Once again, we asked to clarify the vision and the preferred future first. Do you notice the difference in the tone between the non-solution focus that I got from my customers and the solution focusing coaching approach? What's the difference? The other was so negative. And this one is positive, right? The other one was just so pressurizing. And when we are very stressful and very pressurized, there's no creativity. Another question we can ask, what are the risk exposure that we need to quantify for us to develop suitable procurement strategy? This question is different because it requires the project leaders to know the processes. So when a coach has to address some of these project management issues, they have to read up a little bit to understand the processes so they can ask the right relevant questions. And the good thing is that once the project leaders know the processes, they can direct the focus towards what is more important at that stage that the team member must not overlook. However, the leader believes in the team's strength and expertise to have the relevant solutions. So these questions will be very helpful. And most of the time as project leaders, we will be very diplomatic. We will say, I heard your concern. I need to investigate what went wrong. By the way, we carry out according to your requirements. Is that good enough? Well, it's solution focused. Instead of being defensive, we have this attitude to consider behind every complaint is a wish. So you can ask a question, you can answer, wow, you must have a good reason for raising this concern. We would like to understand more. You see a difference between just now, that answer compared to this? And so another, when the situation is getting a bit heated up, you can ask a question. Another question when it's we want to come up with a win-win solution. You can ask, suppose we are able to settle the differences, what would you notice we do differently? And this is a very good approach for us to get a win-win resolution. And that's about it. And that's the last slide. That's it.
So let's go to your questions. So Jackie, you were in group 1. I'm wondering, did you have any questions, your group?
Well, I will say I'm really actually our one question was around our discussion was around that, complexity around procurement and how do you deal with the negative where you're running a risk, companies that run with a risk profile as their main issues that they need to cover first, and then how do you deal with that negativity initially? How do you turn that? How do you switch that around? Because if you're dealing with people that are constantly working with risk aversion, they're constantly looking for things that could potentially go wrong, right? So just interested to, that was probably a question of sorts. Yep.
Great. Do you want to respond, Douglas?
You know, is one of the way you can do is probably talk about what the team come together and talk about what they have done well, even the little things, to create a positive environment. Instead of everybody saying the negative things, just look at some of the positive they have done well. I believe that the team, when they are able to overcome challenges after challenges, those positive things they have done, and somehow is being erased by the next problem that's coming forward, right? And people begin to lose their hopes and so on and get negative. So if the team come together and talk about what they have done well, what are the small little things, look at those positive areas and begin to appreciate each other, right? Appreciate those good things. I believe that will help to change the entire environment from a negative to positive. And once that is done, hopefully, with the resources from this positive, wins that you have, the team can move forward.
Thank you. John, have you got a question, Janelle? Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe we will sharpen a little bit. Douglas, is actually pertaining to the last question that you showed us before we went to the breakout room. What are the risk exposures that we need to quantify for us to develop suitable procurement strategies? I think where I'm coming from, and also where Singaporeans are coming from, the first response would be, they will put up all the challenges, and instead of going straight into solutioning, which is what you're trying to get to here. So how do you switch them to the solutioning part?
Sorry, you're saying that
the question that you raised.
Yeah.
What I see is my first response, because I'm also fairly new to SF. The first response is I would actually put up a lot of, this is happening, these are the challenges, these are, so I would come up with a lot more reasons for the risk exposures, rather than coming straight to how to then come up with a suitable strategy. You know where I'm coming from?
Yeah. So that's when we need to go back to there are two questions I gave there on the risk assessment. One of them is with the understanding of the risk, right? That though all of them has list them down. We are not going to ignore them. List down all the lists and all the complaints, right? And knowing what we know right now, all the risks we're going to work on, right? So what do we need to do differently? So the team has to come back and look at it, and direct them from a negative problem focus towards a solution. So I guess that's one way of doing it there.
Thanks,
Did
Douglas.
I ask the question?
I've got, James has got his hand up, so I'm just wondering, James, if you want to speak.
Hi, James.
Yeah, thank you, Annette. Hi, Douglas.
Hi, James.
All right, my question is, when it comes to solution focus, I understand that the kind of questioning will take patience with the team, but I don't see much issue with that, because in a project team, usually the team members has been working together for some time, so we are able to establish the chemistry, and we can allow the solution focused approach to work effectively. So now my question is, how are we going to deal with our clients for a project, because they may not be exposed to the solution focused approach before, and they may not have the kind of patience. And my experience was usually the clients when they are the one that is the paymaster, they have the attitude is a bit different. They will be very demanding, and sometimes I may say the attitude can be a bit toxic. So how do we pose these solution focused questions to them and encourage them to respond in kind?
You know, the advantage of a solution focus is that we listen, right? And when the customers has a need and then they just want to voice out their demand and so on, solution focus is the best approach to do that. We just ask them, you know, what do you see? You know, if they were to tell you and so on, just ask them the vision statement. What's their preferred future? Clarify. What else, you know, are you looking at? Try to understand, because at the end of it, when the customers realize that you are very interested in what they need, and you begin to realize that there's a trust in is being built, you empathize the situation. Wow, I can see that what you're going through, right? And then you ask them the questions. So, suppose that you're able to overcome these challenges that they talk about, right? You ask them, what additional resource, what would you do differently? What do you need? What will you be doing? And once they begin to say, oh, I need more people, I need these, I need that, and then you can ask them, you know, what are the helps that you need from us? You know, how can I help you in situations like that? You know? So,
Douglas, sorry to interrupt, because I'm really interested in the next part of the question, which is how do we deal with the customer if after we ask them what they really want and what they really want actually will cause the budget cost to escalate.
okay.
But they are not going to give us more resources, but they just demand more deliverables.
Before I proceed, James, are you a project manager?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. Then I can relate to you easier, right? So, you know, at the end of it, there is no, nothing is free, right? When there's a budget, at the end of it, we have to understand, you know, there'll be a constraint of what you can do. You just have to ask them questions like, why is this important to them? Why is this thing so important? At the end of it, and once you understand the motivation behind, the reason why they keep pressing you for this is so important. Because they may have a valid reason. And once you understand the valid reason, and that's when you realize that you need to help them to solve the problem. And second thing is that, which one is the most important among all these things that we are helping you to solve in the project? You may not have all the solution immediately, given the constraint in budget, constraint in time, you know, and constraint in quality and the scope, everything they want, right? So, you know, somehow something has to give in. If you know about the win-win approach, there's always a negotiation, right? And you, as a project manager or as a representative of your own company, there's also a profitability target that you need to meet. You can't be finishing the project and then you make a loss and most likely you end up with no job, right? So you have to negotiate with them which are the areas that you can give in and which is the area that you must you must have it. And that's why you negotiate.
Douglas, I'm asking a question on behalf of Susie, who had to go. And she said, how did you create a culture of change and buy-in? Was it just you on your own, or how did you actually do that, create that buy-in to this way of project managing?
Usually, the buying in requires, the safest way is to make sure that we do a most due diligence in a requirement gathering upfront. It must be written, it must be validated. So once you have that, the project manager, if they fulfill all these requirements, then there's very little reasons why, very little reason for them to complain if you comply them. And there's a buy-in, right? Of course, there are more unreasonable things, there are gray areas that you need to work on, right? And that's when, that's when the discussion come in a specific area. You need to understand why you have to do that and discuss. Same like what James talked to us about, right? And if those areas are not written, are not part of the specifications, and those are gray areas. If you make changes, client asks for things that are not documented and so on, and is the best is you can't entertain this. If you need to do that, then you may have to escalate some of this issue to a high level if it involves budget, right? Sometimes management will agree to make a little bit of loss for the sake of future business and the relationship. So there's no hard and fast rule for this.
Thank you. Klaus, your group, did you have any questions?
Yes, Doris raised a couple of wonderful ones. And if I pick out one of those that I'm most curious about is, no, I can't. There's actually two. One is about experience in different cultures, which is you've worked in different countries. Did you notice any differences? And you've probably worked in different industries. Is there a difference between engineering and other industries? And how do you bridge well between those and SF?
Oh, okay. So I work with many different cultures. And the most interesting part, I did a construction that involved the British, the Germans, the Indians, the Malays, the Koreans. I can't remember anything, but these are the tough ones. When you have a German and a Korean together, wow, they are very good, but they have their own values. It's not easy to overcome, right? So we need to understand the culture, right? For example, I know that the Germans are very, very systematic. They have their rules, and it's not easy to change unless you follow the rules. And that's the reason why I like the Germans. They always get things done systematically. They promise you they get it done. Same thing for Korean, but they're slightly different. We have to get to know them first as friends. We have to build the relationship, and then you have to build the trust. That takes a long time. I invested a lot on drinks, on food, on building the relationship before they tell the rest of the guy, just listen to Douglas. Just do what he says.
Solution-focused drinking.
Yeah. And I have to take things that help me to to relieve the drunkenness, right? But it helps to build relationship, but that's how we do it, right? Yeah. So, and once we understand each other, and the rest are the same. Once we build the trust for both sides, we were able to build a lot of friendship between the Koreans and the German. They were the main ones because both of them are very good in construction, especially the high-tech constructions. So once we break the barrier of trust, the rest was very easy.
Yeah. And I have one more question, which was, that in my former life, I used to be a biologist, and we got curious about the evolution of your question. So you probably tried a lot, and this is the current state. So is this like the 5th generation of solution-focused project management? Or how was your path of evolving those questions?
Well, I'm quite new in the solution focus. Told you it's about 2 years plus, and when I begin to discover these solution focused questions, I was amazed by what I can do, because I realized that I face so much of these issues, and I have to talk a lot. When I realized the solution focus is so powerful, you just have to ask a question, and those guys will have to spend days trying to figure out your answer and reflect upon it. And it's so good, powerful solution focused question, and it creates positivity and so on, right? I do not know about next generation, but I'm very excited about getting this into this field. If you are in the solution, in the project management, I was sharing with Annette, that's project management, especially the PMI, is going through a major change. The last few years, they have doubled the syllabus. I was certified with the 500 pages manual. And a few years ago, I realized the manual had become 1,000 pages. And they told us by next year, they're going to totally revamp it, because they're going to make, in the past, project management are basically 100% process focused. Starting from next year, process is going to be 50% of the focus. The other 50%, leadership and people management. So can you imagine the opportunity where the solution focus come in?
Wonderful.
Because it's really, yeah.
Really nice. And please prevent them from putting a new process on people management and leadership process according to ISO or something.
Yeah.
Thank you, Douglas.
Okay.
John Brooker, I'm wondering, in your group, did you have questions?
I'm going to delegate this one to Katja, actually, because she had a question.
Thank you.
Yeah, we find out that if we are in a team and you not only have the responsibility as a project manager to bring in SF, how can you do it as a team member if you're not the lead?
Well, you can definitely influence them by asking some questions for a start, right? I know it's difficult. It depends on the environment. In certain cultures, you don't talk. You just listen first, right? In Singapore cultures, everybody can talk unless you are a military background guy. Otherwise, it's okay, right? In American, it's easier. Everybody can talk, so it's much easier. In Korean, it's very tough. Only the boss talk, right? So yeah, so it depends. But of course, you can start influencing the team when you work together, right? It definitely helps, especially in a very stressful situations. I was put in a very difficult situation before. All my stakeholders want this, want that, but I got a limited budget. Everybody wants certain things, right? And everybody say at the back of my bosses, and by the time I give in to all of them, I basically cannot meet the budget and so on. So I had to have a one-to-one talk with them. Maybe that's when we can do solution focus, right? And help them to reflect. And hopefully you are able to engage one or two of those of a very influential team members. I used to spend some time with the top guy of my stakeholders, and he liked fried squid. I just joined him for the fried squid dinner, and there I talked to him, and after that I realized that I get the support because of him, right? So probably you have to talk to those. Hopefully you can influence that person, and then they say, let's. I want you to hear from Kaja, and she has something good to talk about to all of you, and hopefully that will kind of, wow, you speak very strange language.
So have I covered everyone? John Tego, was your group covered?
Yeah, Douglas, I've got one question though. All the rest of my team has disappeared now, but one of the questions was how you affected culture change. But I just wonder if you come across a company or a group of executives who are particularly resistant to the SF approach, did you in any way kind of break it down into a smaller step of maybe trying to talk to one executive at a time, just gradually get them into a different conversation before you went back to the big group? How have you gone about in the past trying to overcome that sort of resistance? What techniques have you used?
I would say it has to go from start from the top. You know, it's not easy. I mean, I in the past, when I did projects overseas, I can only do so much if I'm going to do things within my team. Of course, the team will listen to me, right? But it's not going to make a lot of change the moment we leave the place, or when I'm not around, things will go back to normal. So the only way I can do that is with the top, the head of the plant, or the head of, I used to report to the COO, and if you don't change, then nothing can change, right? And most of the time you say, oh, I'm too old to change, you know? Okay, just do it, it has been effective, right? Just do it that way. However, in an environment where I was put into, for example, I was asked to do some project in China and in Thailand and so on, where I spent some time with the managing directors. I can influence him, and he has the authority to make the changes. So those are the guys that I've spent. Of course, most of them, they want to see the performance first. Don't tell them to change when you have not proven your performance using the existing way, right? And once they gain respect of you, then they're open to listen to you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that takes time. Mm-hmm.
May I throw in one as well? Is that, John, when I worked on big construction projects, not as project manager, but just as an SF practitioner working with a client, is getting one person on board, a senior person, just one of them who really is into SF and gets it and how it works. That for me is the way you get the rest of the team. Because that person has the respect, and so that they will at least start to listen, and then they realize, oh, this works, and that's where you come. But if you haven't got that one person, at least, and I think Douglas, you're talking about the MD, then you're struggling, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's very true. And it's kind of when you think about how you plan your engagement initially with the company, that if you suddenly go into a group of executives to start with and it doesn't work, you think, oh, I wish I'd started with one person just to try and sort of sow the seed, if you like, within the company before actually taking on a bigger group. Because it's a big change. It's just like I put in the chat. It's such a different conversation. But when people get it, everything just changes. It's like trying to climb Everest to some degree, and you get to the top, and then all of a sudden you see the vision.
Kerry,
interesting. Thank you.
Kerry, you've got a question.
Well, it's not so much a question. I think this is a very interesting topic about people talking about the fact that it's not working. And I don't know if we can do this today, but it would seem to me that this is a topic for discussion about if you're using it and it's not working, how do we, it would be nice for people to share what hasn't worked and see if we could work out a way of what's happening with the resistance, acknowledgement, I just think it would be a nice topic to discuss.
So we're nearly done with time. So I'm wondering if we do it in normal SF fashion. We finish with appreciating Douglas and what he's presented here today. So who would like to compliment Douglas on what you're impressed with and what you've heard?
I'm so impressed with your mentioning of having been in contact with SF only for 2 years and already having found better questions for project management than I have in 20 years of solution focus. Wonderful.
Nice. Who else would like to go?
I would like to say, on a similar line, it's the wisdom of simplicity that you bring, and you haven't complicated it. You've seen what's there in SF. Douglas Klaus by himself, I should tell you, is absolutely underestimating who he is if you don't know him over the years. But it is about that simplicity and taking the questions and just using them simply to turn things around. And it's the wisdom with which you've done that is wonderful. And this is the second time I've listened to this talk. I listened to it at the SF24 conference, and I've come back a second time, and I'm sure I'll do it a third. But thank you.
Thank you.
It's actually because of Kerry you're here, Douglas, because she said, oh, we must get you to speak from her experience on the SF24.
Thank you.
For me, it's that for all the years you spent as a project manager using a problem focus, if I can call it that, yes. But that willingness to just say, I'm going to do this a different way after all those years, and it's been successful, but recognizing that well, maybe things have been VUCA for quite a while, but actually there is this imperative to change. And I think that is a real credit to you that a lot of people wouldn't do that. Like you said, I've been around a long time, and it's too late to change, but it's never too late to change, is it? So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So Douglas, I'd like to echo that. I felt exactly the same way. It's very easy to get established in your ways and feel very comfortable. And I think the fact that you just have taken that on and go, wow, there's something different. We can do something differently and be successful. I really enjoyed that conversation. It's a traditional topic, but you've given it an extra flavour, which I think has probably created a few questions in everybody's mind tonight. So thanks very much.
Thanks, John.
I have nothing to do with the project management, but when I saw the title, how to lead in a VUCA environment, I was very curious. But Douglas, you make me feel very assured that in whatever environment, difficult environment, all we need to get back to is a basic solution-focused attitude in thinking and in communicating. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then, Aoki-san, you just add the glasses with the big hearts that you showed me.
Yeah.
Okay, and thank you. Go on, who was going to say something? Janelle and then Doris.
Doris, go first.
No, it's fine.
Okay, Douglas, I'm very proud of you. Yeah, I mean, having been in the same class with him, I see how he progressed. And I'm very, very proud and impressed that you have incorporated the lingo of the project management, what they do, into the SF questions. And I am blown away, actually, with all the questions that you came up with. Yeah, good job.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Janine. That was exactly what I wanted to say. Really great and very impressive. And also your attitude, knowing people who are engaged in projects and knowing what kind of questions they normally have to answer and are answering. And now you are going to go there and ask totally different questions and being even more successful than before. And having this curiosity and also the inner strength to do that. And that was really impressive today to see also the difference of the questions, so the problem and the solution focused questions. And that was very, very interesting. And thank you for that.
Thank you.
And keep on going.
Yes.
Hi, Douglas.
Oh, go, James.
Okay. Maybe I'm the last one.
Yeah.
So when I saw that this event is coming up, I was really looking forward to it, because I myself is just starting solution focus, and also I'm in the process of getting my PMP, and I find a lot of similarity in terms of experience with Douglas, and this session really doesn't disappoint at all. And I'm really glad that I joined this session, and I get to have very good sharing from Douglas, something that I hope I can implement in my own workplace. So once again, thank you very much, Douglas.
Thanks, James. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Douglas. And well done you in creating a new path for project management. I think it's, you're trailblazing in that area. So.